Hi, this is Brandon from WatchesOnYou. Today we're taking a look at the G-Shock Master of G GG1000-1A8. Now, first I'd like to remind you that we're here at Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park, Minnesota, and I'll be leaving a link in the description to their website if you're interested in purchasing this piece. But now let's start off with the rest of the review. So as I said, this is the Master of G GG1000-1A8. Now, this watch retails for a price of $320, and it actually is a lot simpler than it looks just on the face of it. From looking at the dial on this watch, it seems as if this watch would be one of the more complicated G-Shocks, but it's actually one of the more simple G-Shocks, but it still retains a lot of the features that you would expect in a more expensive watch from this brand. And perhaps my favorite feature is the compass feature, and to activate that, you push this button at 3 o'clock, and it essentially turns the second hand into a compass. And you can see that the little selector moved to the compass position, and as you can see as I move the watch, the second hand will move in accordance with the direction that the watch is pointed, and that's a very cool feature of this piece. And this watch also has a thermometer, and in order to view that, you hit the button at the 4 o'clock position, and it'll tell you the temperature in Celsius. So that's a very useful feature, again, if you're outside. Now, in terms of what you'd actually use that for sports, I don't really know, but it's, again, useful to have. Possibly if you worked in a science lab, it's very important to keep track of the temperature within the lab, so that's a good use for this piece. And also, this watch is a member of the Mudmaster collection, and what's significant about that is that the buttons are specifically designed in order to prevent dust and mud from getting into the watch. They have special gaskets that they employ in order to do that, so that's a very useful feature. Again, this is just, I mean, it's a G-Shock. It's an extremely tough watch. The diameter is 56 millimeters, so it's relatively massive in terms of the watches that we typically review, but again, this is a G-Shock, so it's really a class of its own because, I mean, they're basically indestructible, and again, it's for people who are in the military or are doing something extremely active and dangerous. Well, not necessarily dangerous, but again, extremely active. So getting on to the other features, and these features are more in relation to the traditional G-Shock features. So here is the world time. It has 31 time zones that you can keep track of. Here is the stopwatch function, and again, in order to access these, I am hitting the button at 8 o'clock, and you can see that little wheel turns to the different features. Here's a timer feature, here's an alarm feature, and now we're back to the time, so it displays the digital time. And I mean, it really is a simple watch to use, especially after you get used to it. It looks like one of the more complicated G-Shocks, but again, it's fairly simple. So one last feature I want to discuss is the light on the dial, and this is activated at 2 o'clock, and there's a little LED at the bottom, so you can see this during nighttime. Now, obviously, given that the lights are on the room, you can't really see the how bright it is, but I can assure you at nighttime this watch is very bright. And it's not an Indiglow light, it is really just an LED at 6 o'clock, and I actually prefer that. I think it looks a lot cooler. And again, it's just as functional as an Indiglow light. So now I'll try the watch on for a wrist shot. And I have about a 6.5-inch wrist in circumference. So this watch does still, it appears, again, massive. But again, it's a G-Shock, so we do make exceptions for that. It's 56 millimeters, in case you forgot. I think it looks very nice on the wrist. It's very tough. The strap itself is extremely tough. As you can see, the pin buckle clasp actually goes through the strap at 2 different positions. And the strap itself is made of a very tough, almost plastic feeling rubber. So again, it's tough. It's a G-Shock, so they're fairly indestructible. So if you like this review, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. And remember, we're at Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. Thanks for watching.